If you see him, it's likely you're having the worst day of your life. For today's video, we're diving deep into the cracked yet ambitious psyche of Louis Bloom.
I'm lost.
This is a restricted area.
Oh, I didn't know that. There's no signs.
A man so obsessed with success, he's willing to film you dying slowly to get there. And a whole lot more. Today we're going to learn how Jake Gyllenhaal's dedication to creating one of the most memorable characters of his career ended with 44 stitches. We'll find out about a fellow actor calling him weird on set, albeit in the best of ways, as he dealt with losing a considerable amount of weight for the role, and we're going to use steady hands as we crawl into the headspace of the genius minds who created one of the most fascinating, frightening.
Actually, that's not true, Nina. Because as I'm sure you know, a friend is a gift you give yourself.
And hilarious, in that psycho sort of way, characters in Lou Bloom. Because if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket. And if you're Nina, you have to do the things he asks you to do when you're alone together in her apartment.
I mean that I want them, and I don't want to have to ask again. And the last thing that I want, Nina, is for you to do the things that I ask you to do when we're alone together in your apartment. Not like the last time.
This is what the f*** happened to Nightcrawler. For writer-director Dan Gilroy, the idea for Nightcrawler began way back in 1988. The writer of 1992's Freejack and the underrated football betting movie Two for the Money had become inspired by the work of New York City street photographer known as Ouija. The photographer's works were famous for capturing the sensational dark side of New York in the 1930s and 40s. He would follow emergency services on calls and take photos of the aftermath, and likened it to Jack Nicholson's Chinatown. However, in 1992, Joe Pesci's The Public Eye released and was a little too close to comfort to his original idea, so he scrapped it altogether. That was until he moved to Los Angeles and became fascinated with the "if it bleeds, it leads" mentality of the daily news programs, often showcasing the area's worst crimes and using fear as a tractor beam for viewers. He also noticed the footage obtained by logos on the screen of these tragic moments caught on film. This led to the discovery of the stringer profession, where camera crews will hang out in populated, dangerous cities with police scanners, following the action and selling their footage to local news stations. Much as Ouija himself had done, the idea clicked, and Gilroy began writing Nightcrawler. Gilroy happily admits that his cadence when writing scripts is to rewrite them many times over. Nightcrawler was no exception. He went through several iterations of the script for years before settling on an anti-hero for his lead. He says that the character of Lou Bloom leapt off the page and grabbed him by the throat, demanding to be written, which, so long as you're not a complete schizophrenic suffering from hallucinations, is a pretty darn good marker that you found what you're looking for. It was at this point that Gilroy says he knew that it would be the first movie he directed, feeling that the story was too personal and specific to let anyone else misinterpret it. Studios are often weary of first-time writer-directors, but when Gilroy's respected filmmaker brother Tony Gilroy agreed to sign on as a producer and eventual editor, those concerns were likely put to rest. Gilroy purposely set out to create a character with almost no morals, obsessed with capitalist messaging, who never changes, even as the credits roll. Instead, he bends the world to his will, leaving us all looking in the mirror at the types of things that we will allow to happen around us. Lou Bloom doesn't have a character arc. He starts as an absolute psychopath and uses it to succeed, and that should probably frighten us. Hired to do just that was Donnie effin' Darko himself, Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake was on a hot streak at the time, which was pretty much his entire career. You could clearly see he had an eye for breathing life into some dark characters in his past, including a 2012 music video featuring a band called The Shoes titled Time to Dance. In the video, Gyllenhaal is seen feverishly lifting weights and fencing as he becomes more and more disgusted with the world around him. He then uses his fencing gear to commit savage murders when the bloodlust finally overflows. Gilroy says that Gyllenhaal was his very first choice to play the character, and you can see why. Thanks to a previously planned Gyllenhaal project hitting the skids, Gyllenhaal met with Gilroy and signed on with the awesome script, likely making it for an easy sales pitch. Gilroy flew to Atlanta to the set of Prisoners, where Gyllenhaal was delivering another dark tour de force alongside Hugh Jackman. The two had dinner together and were both in love with the idea of framing Nightcrawler as a horrific success story. Gilroy told Gyllenhaal that he saw Bloom as a coyote who was driven by his insatiable hunger, which Gyllenhaal used to create the haunting figure that we see on screen. He proceeded to follow a strict diet in which he lost 30 pounds off an already in-shape frame. Some on the set were concerned that this was the wrong idea for the character, but Gilroy put his trust in Gyllenhaal's vision, and it all worked out. But you can take one look at this guy with his little man bun and articulated yet sunken face and know that there is a very good possibility that he has a dead hooker in his trunk. Gyllenhaal wasn't all in on just his character, but the film as a whole. He was involved early on in rehearsals, as well as crew discussions and various other aspects of Nightcrawler. For what a sick person would call his love interest in the film, we'd call her his victim. Dan Gilroy went to his wife, Renee Russo, whom this lucky and talented guy has been married to since meeting on the set of Free Jack in the 90s. The character of Nina is so desperate and morally conflicted, but also strong and fierce. Russo worked with her husband before and even as he wrote the script and was interested in the role, which she absolutely crushed because it was unlike any character that she had ever played before. For Lou Bloom's unfortunate sidekick, that role went to Riz Ahmed, whose real-life desperation regarding work at the time wasn't that far off from his character. The actor said that he was close to quitting acting at the time and was too broke to even fly to LA for the audition, but he bet on himself and figured it out and got into the room with Jake Gyllenhaal to audition. Thankfully, we know the rest. Riz also says that reality portrayed fiction in more ways than one, as he recalled Gyllenhaal being a real-life weirdo in the best way possible on set, as the actor was starving himself and transforming into the character. The great Bill Paxton was hired to portray Dickhead and OG stringer Joe Loader. While there is nothing online confirming that this is indeed a direct nod to MTV News famed anchor Kurt Loder, I like to believe it in my own mind. On the short list of all-time great character actors in the history of the business, Paxton brought a fearless energy and breathed hilarious life into a weathered night stringer surviving this alternative lifestyle, and even this frightening little man threatening it. Academy Award-winning There Will Be Blood and The Town cinematographer Robert Elswit brought the nocturnal LA streets to life. Elswit purposely made the camera an extension of Lou's eyes, with everything in the frame reinforcing his isolation and hunger. This, alongside James Newton Howard's cold and electric score, helped to create a mood that is imperative to making Nightcrawler one of the best films of the decade and beyond. Howard made the sounds so that they would fit into Lou's inner world, obsessive, precise, and frightening. Meanwhile, Elswit lit Nightcrawler using many already existing light sources, such as traffic lights and neon, to help with faster setups and authentic visuals. Principal photography for Nightcrawler was extremely tight and lasted less than a month, with the crew working around 22 consecutive nights, as with the story taking place after dark. For those of us unfortunate enough to know what working the night shift can do to the body, this was an undertaking almost equivalent to James Cameron shooting The Abyss while underwater 12 hours a day. It can be quite taxing on the body. Like the stringers themselves, the crew would rush from place to place each night as they ended up filming in around 80 different Los Angeles locations. They stayed away from the typical downtown LA areas, as he wanted the environments to reflect the seldom seen landscapes that match the film's predatory energy. Scenes revolving around the news station were shot at KTLA in Hollywood. To maintain authenticity when it came to the affectionately dubbed flaming asshole of a job, Gilroy and Gyllenhaal recruited real-life stringers, the Reichbrook brothers, who had successfully created their own business in the field. They took the two out on ride-alongs and ended up being hired onto the production crew as project consultants. They likely ended up informing much of the action and detail of the film as a whole. Gyllenhaal made it out of these stringer ride-alongs unscathed, but it turned out to be an acting part that was dangerous. During the infamous scene where Lou goes all "smack my bitch up" on his bathroom mirror, Gyllenhaal got a little too method and actually cut his hand, requiring 44 stitches to seal the wound. It won't surprise you to hear this dedicated SOB return to the set within hours to continue filming. Adding to the realism, a few shots caught on run-and-gun cameras from either Gyllenhaal or Ahmed's cameras were found to be useful during the faster news footage sequences, and actually made it into the film. Other times, CGI was used to create camera-within-camera perspectives. Even the viral marketing campaigns for Nightcrawler were worthy of one of their own Budweiser Real Men of Genius commercials. A Craigslist ad was posted under the title "Hard Worker Seeking Employment," written in Bloom's voice with a link to a video resume featuring Bloom selling himself in his own personal brand of capitalist stalker speak.
Excuse me, sir? I'm looking for a job.
When Nightcrawler screened at Cannes, it understandably started a bidding war across multiple major players. Open Road Films won the rights to distribute it in the United States, and Nightcrawler opened for wide audience consumption on the appropriate date of Halloween 2014. Appropriate for the content, not so much for the box office. As the holiday threatens to come with other obligations for potential moviegoers, still yet, the $8.5 million budget of the film was covered in the opening domestic weekend, that stole over $10 million on its way to a worldwide total of more than $47 million. Hell, with the way Nightcrawler ended, thems could be sequel numbers, baby. Think about a future where Lou Bloom is at the head of a major corporation and running out of achievements to obsess over. What does an ambitious nutbag do when he reaches the top of the mountain? It's frightening to think about, but sadly, we will probably never see it. Gilroy has understandably immediately shut down any conversation of a sequel ever happening. For this financially viable and critical darling that virtually almost everyone loves, currently sitting at a 95% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, perhaps it's one of those projects you leave untouched. And for now, and probably forever, that, my friends, is what the happened to Nightcrawler.
You have to make the money to buy a ticket!
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.